On this episode of CuestaDos, we talk about our nerdy anime manga stuff, Vinland Saga to be specific. We go on a
Yep.
good amount about that. And we talk about Dragon Ball Super, which David's
Yep.
finally caught up on. Then we talk about how much I don't care about the Royals, but I care enough to complain about them. We're talking about the British Royals, not Kansas City. David doesn't care at all. He's indifferent. We go on a long talk about UFC 259 because it was a great card and there's a lot going on in UFC.
hmm
It's always in flux, and Dana White is a really rich man for a good reason. Talk about Blake Griffin signing with the Brooklyn Nets. What can go on there? The NBA All Star Day, having all the things in there except for the Rising Stars and Celebrity Game.
hmm
And then we talk about Dak Prescott getting paid NFL tags. Who got the tag? Who didn't? Franchise tags. So it's a fun show, and we hate Tom Brady. So without any further ado,
I don't hate
you hate him.
him.
You have to. Shut up. You're a Jets fan. Denounce your Jets card. Anyway, without any further ado, enjoy the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another exciting edition of CuestaDos. I'm Alex. He's David.
Damn.
Hi, David.
Hi. Hi.
How-
What's up?
How are you on this lovely evening?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well, Dave. Can we get a high five, virtual high five for consistency, real quick?
Why?
You're just gonna leave me hanging because it's like the first time that we've done back-to-back weeks in probably close to like 5 months. It's a cause for happiness, Dave. It is a cause for happiness.
A cause for a cause. You know what they say.
Anything new going on in your life? Anything eventful that you would like to
No.
share with
No.
our
Not a
faithful
singular
listeners?
thing, actually. I've just been working.
So you kind of suck.
Well, happens.
Only thing new with me is I don't know if anyone could see the glare on my glasses is probably helping. I don't know if that annoys people, but that's okay right now because I have a blood blister or a blood vessel, not blister. I'll be really bad. A blood vessel that bursts in my eye here, and it's like half red, and I look like half demon in one eye, which is pretty cool. Keeps people away from me because even if I am out and I'm wearing a mask, they see like I have half red eye. Like, is that a new version of COVID? Why is he out? Cover his eyes.
Or
I
they-
don't know.
Or they think you have pink eye.
Pink eye does not look like this. Hold on.
Oh,
You want to
well.
see? Let's see.
No, I
Can you
don't
see
want
it?
to see.
Can you see it? It looks
Not
crazy,
really.
right?
Not really. No one can see
Right.
that.
No one can see that? Okay, that's good. Anyway, so we're going to get on with the show. We have a fun, jam-packed show, mostly sports as always, but a few stupid things in the beginning because David and I are just like that.
I wouldn't say they're stupid.
One of them's stupid.
Yeah, one of them is stupid.
We
You're
can
right.
get started with the non-stupid one.
Yeah, well, it might be stupid to some people, but we're going to be talking about, as we mostly do, we're going to be talking about manga or anime that we're watching or reading. Right now, we're both reading something at the same time. I'm a little farther ahead. It's called Vinland Saga, and it's about Vikings. That's basically what it is. It's about Vikings.
It's ridiculous because I told you to get into this
Mhm.
and you surpassed me very, very quickly. And it's just that good, Dave. One of the things about Vinland Saga, it's about Vikings, and it goes back to like Leif Erikson's explorations.
Yes.
And Leif Erikson was the Viking that originally came onto the coast of Canada and Newfoundland,
Mhm.
one of the greatest explorers of all time.
Mhm.
But it's around his generation and the John Vikings, which is all historical groups and
Mhm.
people, and it follows a kid named Thorfinn.
Yep.
And one of the things that I find cool is I one of the things like we in America find it pretty difficult writing about other cultures a lot of the times.
Yes.
It's pretty cool to me to see the Japanese and the way they're able to write about this culture. And it looks pretty damn accurate to me from a lot of things.
Listen, I have no idea how accurate it is. I know I've heard some of the names that are used in it before in some
Yep.
kind of context, but I do know it's really, really good. That's what I know. I know for a fact that in the story, it's not just about Vikings just going out and fighting. Obviously, you have a lot of that.
Yep.
But the general premise is what is a real warrior? What is a real man? What is like a real person with a moral compass and other such things? That's the actual theme of Vinland Saga.
Yeah, and initially, like as we're our way of thinking is kind of the more Protestant Christian way of thinking, especially in America. It's a big, when we grew up, it's still very prevalent.
Mhm.
They make fun of Catholicism and Christianity a ton because they're
Yes.
still thinking in the Norse god style.
Yes.
And their goal is, when warriors die, they go to
Valhalla.
Valhalla.
Mhm.
So it's very cool in that sense. And following Thorfinn as a kid, like his life is absolutely tragic.
Mhm.
But I just, the fight scenes are extremely well choreographed and
Yep.
well drawn.
Yep.
Um, as they have their unrealistic elements because they all have some unrealistic things, but for a lot of it, the fighting is fighting. It's not
Mhm.
too supernatural. We're not talking about like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z supernatural,
Yep.
but it's pretty fun, Dave. So you are a little bit further than I am. It's still going on. They release like an episode, like a chapter every once in a while. Do you plan on following this? Even because you have an issue when you get to the end of things, you just kind of throw them away until they have like another 1,000 chapters.
Because it takes so long for them to get back into focus and actually put things out. I mean, I'm all caught up on JoJo, so that's how I feel about everything. I'm just gonna wait forever until JoJo comes out in another chapter in like 16 years. But I mean, I'll be around it. I'll figure out either through Instagram or something like that whether or not a new chapter comes out. Then I'll catch right back up. But I'm definitely going to catch up right now because it really makes you think a lot. Vinland Saga is a very thoughtful manga and a very fun one because just because I'm saying, oh, it's more than action, there's still a lot of action in it.
And fun fact, if you have Prime Video, there's an anime out. And I made the mistake of starting to watch it while I was watching my two daughters, and the first scene is on a boat and
You
a guy like
silly
getting
man.
just gutted, and I'm like,
Yep.
cool, this is going off.
Yep. You
Um,
silly man.
yeah, no, but it looked good. The animation looked beautiful. It's a little more new style anime,
Mm-hmm.
but it looked really good. I really intend to catch up. Would you double back and watch the anime when you're all caught up to kind of see how they make it look and their
Yeah,
interpretation of it?
yeah, I might do that, especially since the fighting is really cool.
Yeah.
I want to see how they do it. I mean, I know some of the new anime that's come out, like Demon Slayer and other things, make the fighting look just amazing.
Well, even the
So
new Dragon Ball Super Broly was just a
it
completely
was
new
really
element
good.
of Dragon Ball.
Exactly. So if Vinland Saga even captures a little bit of that, it's going to be awesome to watch.
All right, Dave, anything else that you're reading that we haven't talked about lately or anything you're looking forward to? You mentioned a few things before.
Not currently. I know you made me catch up on Dragon Ball Super, and I'm happy I did.
Well
I
worth
can't
it.
wait until it comes back into anime in some form. But other than that, I actually haven't been reading or watching anything recently.
What, we could touch on Dragon Ball Super because I think we weren't able to really talk about it because you weren't caught up.
Yeah.
Give me some of your impressions of the Moro arc because a lot of people draw so much of a parallel to Cell, basically saying that Moro is Dragon Ball Super Cell. I kind of see him as kind of like a morph of maybe Majin Buu and Cell, but he has his own uniqueness. He's kind of like the Galactus of Dragon Ball because he's a world eater.
Yeah.
He's, spoiler alert, but the way he just continues to transform and get even more powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did some really cool things there. They gave, Gohan looked good for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Even being able to, before Moro got super beefed up, he was a threat to Moro.
Mm-hmm.
Vegeta essentially could have beaten Moro if Moro
Mm-hmm.
didn't have one trick and Vegeta had his time. And then Goku ends up being the guy, but they leave it where Vegeta is not far behind, and neither is Gohan as a human. That those three are kind of shining back again, and it's
Yeah.
nice to see. What were your impressions for the Moro arc?
I actually really liked it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I can see the comparisons to Cell, especially
Mhm.
since he's basically the second real big villain of Super.
Yep.
Goku Black Zamasu was the first one. He's more like the Frieza, just basically evil incarnate.
Yep.
Moro is something like that, but he's a second guy. He goes through so many transformations.
You don't consider Jiren a bad?
No, Jiren's not a bad to me.
Okay.
Jiren has a whole tragic hero kind of backstory and everything, so I don't consider him bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I can see the comparisons, and Moro is a very interesting character because he has magic. So it's something that to play around with in Dragon Ball Super. But I saw it more as a setup arc.
Mhm.
So Moro is really good villain. Majin Buu is involved this time. Like he's really interesting to see in there. And
Yeah, turning him
everyone
into the King of Kings type of thing. That was
exactly.
really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone gets involved. So you can see it as a setup arc for every single character in this series. So no one's left out anymore. Because you brought it up to me before. It seems like every one of the Z fighters might become a part of the Galactic Patrol.
Yamcha had us time to shine again. Yeah.
Exactly. And for all those who are completely caught up to the start of this new arc, you can see now that Goku, spoilers, I know it's in spoilers all over the place.
I don't care. If you haven't caught up yet, it's your fault.
Yeah. But you can see now that Goku is going to be training to be more angel-like. Vegeta's going to be training to be more God of Destruction-like.
Yep.
So everyone is going to have their place in Super. I know you think the next arc may be the last one, but I'm not so sure unless it's a huge arc, because they have a lot of paths that they want to go down here. And I mean, they could go anywhere.
And you mentioned, because currently we have an arc, Granola is the new character brought in, and they brought in a new dragon with only 2 Dragon Balls on a different planet. I guess a weaker Namekian created him, but I don't know if he's weaker or not. I don't know what it is, because we don't know much about the new dragon.
Yeah.
It ends off, again, huge spoiler. Granola wishes to be the strongest ever, period. The strongest warrior in the galaxy, because he wants to defeat Frieza, because Frieza destroyed his homeland.
Yes.
Normal Frieza stuff. That's what he does. So now it kind of goes, okay, how strong is this dragon? Does the rules apply to this dragon that we've known, where the dragon can't do more than the creator? So will it be, no, I can't make you the strongest in the galaxy, but I can make you one of the strongest. You can't make you but one of, and you can train yourself to get better. Because Granola is going to become formidable at this point, and he's kind of, like you said, he's setting up to be a kind of Jiren-esque guy, where he's going to be a villain by necessity. And with Frieza kind of being like the Magneto of the Z fighters now, it seems like, is Goku going to come to his aid? Is this their way to bring Broly into the fight? Is Granola going to be that strong where they're going to need to reach out and be like, hey, we need the 4 strongest people in this galaxy to beat this guy? Like, he's that strong. Like, there is a lot of ways they can go, but if they do make us a grand finale arc, that would be the way to do it. You bring in all them, and then maybe you recreate GT and make the GT part going into different universes if they want to do something like that.
They could. I really feel it's difficult to put GT at the end of this now.
GT
everything. Exactly. They really can't do it with everything that they
can
learned.
Bring back 4. They can bring back a form of Super Saiyan 4 because it was badass looking.
Yeah.
But I don't want the story.
I don't know. I never loved the design of Super Saiyan 4 as much as everyone else did. I really didn't. But I don't know. GT capping this makes no sense to me. Overall, like I said, it would have to be a huge arc for it to be a grand finale. I just don't think it's going to be like that. Even though you brought up Broly. Broly's not even in the manga yet, which is interesting. But they mentioned that it happened, but he's not actually in it yet.
But he's officially a canon character because Toriyama made it, so he can appear whenever.
Yes.
And, and for everyone that knows, Toyotaro is writing a lot of it, but Toriyama is super involved more than ever now because the anime is on hiatus. So all the new characters are his creation. So Granola is not a Toyotaro creation, even though Toyotaro's vision and his art style, Toriyama's gone on record saying, I can't tell sometimes when Toyotaro draws if it's me or him, which is the biggest compliment you can get. But he's done a really good job. And the fact that Toriyama's involved now, that we'll forget some characters. I'm surprised. I feel like Toyotaro is the one that remembered the Z fighters and put them in. I don't feel like Toriyama remembered half of them existed because he doesn't remember his own stuff.
We'll never see Launch again.
Well, no, she doesn't exist. But overall, I'm excited. Quick mention, Jujutsu Kaisen. David, you need to catch up.
I will.
Gojo Satoru is the best character in anime currently. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, we're going to move on to now our stupid topic because it's absolutely useless for anybody. I don't care if you're British or American to be talking about these people, the royals. Why do we care? David, Prince Harry. I don't even know. Do we call him Prince Harry anymore? I don't want to be royalty anymore. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle did an interview with Oprah, which I saw the funniest meme ever. It was two royal millionaires, one billionaire complaining about oppression in a villa. It was fantastic in a super expensive villa. But Dave, do you care about any of this? I didn't even watch it.
I mean, as an American, I do not care, but also as an American, overthrowing the British monarchy is something that I want to do. So I have to be behind Meghan Markle in some way because if she wins this battle, then the monarchy looks bad. So I have to be behind her in some way. But overall, I just don't care at all. I've never cared about the British royalty. It's just there just to be the British royalty. I mean, it is the United Kingdom, so it is an institution that's kind of needed there right now. But overall, it shouldn't matter to almost anyone, but it does.
I do have to say, Queen's a badass, and she's
Yes,
gonna outlive both me and you. I'm convinced
I probably.
because like I think she's a badass. So she might be like the only royal. Like if she's the royal that I know in my lifetime as like queen, I'm pretty happy about that. Because she's cool. I am pretty annoyed. You know, one thing that does annoy me, not even that Harry's a royal, but the fact that when he left, they stripped him of all of his military ranks. The guy served like 3 tours in the British Royal Navy. Like you shouldn't strip a veteran because he stopped wanting to be a royal. Again, do I think they're petulant children? Yes, but
Listen,
I don't like that part.
the thing is, for me, not caring, I'm not going to know any of the customs of the British monarchy. I have no idea how that thing works. And I mean, who knows? Maybe because he left, it is a rule that like basically you're gone, like you're just erased from the monarchy. So all of those titles are gone as well. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I have no idea how the thing works. And most of the time, I'm not even going to look it up because I don't care enough. So overall, I just never understood why we talked about it, especially in America. We fought to get away from these people. Yeah, they're kind of cute, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I can't stand it all. I just had to bring it up because I needed to vent out my frustration with how stupid it is. I stick with the South Park version of the Canadian royalty and their customs,
And they're as is tradition.
as is tradition.
So
All
we're
right.
going to move on to something else that's become a tradition on the show, and we're going to talk about UFC.
This
We're
is
gonna,
important, by the way.
yeah, this is very important. We're going to talk about UFC 259 that just happened.
Hmm.
We hyped it up coming up, and it was still a pretty good card. It wasn't the best card. It was a decent card. So in the prelims, I'm going to go over some of the ones that we brought up. Oscar Oskarov beat Joseph Benavidez pretty handedly, honestly, in his flyweight bout. He's probably going to get a title fight soon for flyweight after Figueiredo Moreno happens. Dominic Cruz beat Casey Kenny in a split decision. Dominic Cruz still looking something like Dominic Cruz, and that's very good for him. After that, we're going to move on to the main card. Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic was kind of boring. Rakic ended up winning that in decision. Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober ended submission because Makhachev is disgusting, and he just controlled Drew Dober on the ground. He's like a Khabib, so it's going to get bad in the lightweight.
That's a pretty big
division
win
again.
because Drew Dober is a one-hit put you on the mat guy. So
And Drew Dober is just good,
he's a
but
very talented fighter.
yeah, but Makhachev is scary, actually scary. And then we're going to move on to the title fights. I'm going to expand on these a little bit more. You can jump in whenever you want.
Go for it.
But first title fight was the bantamweight title fight. It was Piotr Jan.
Precursor before you get going. I was not able to watch any of this as much as I wanted to. I was extremely intoxicated because I went ice fishing in the Adirondacks. When I got back, I could not function. So I didn't answer David for 2 days because the hangover the next day was absolutely miserable. I did get to nap on the ice for a long time, though, and we caught a fish. We didn't place, but it was a really good size fish.
That's good.
Go ahead, Dave.
But we had Piotr Jan defending his bantamweight belt against Aljamain Sterling. If you listened last week, you know I'm a big Aljo fan.
We were both pushing for Aljo.
Exactly. We want him to win. But overall, I felt like Aljamain was going to lose this fight. It came to round 4. Aljamain basically had no energy left, and Piotr Jan still had a bunch. Piotr Jan has knockout power. He's very good at pressuring. Round 4, almost at the end of it, Aljamain is kind of down. He has a knee down. He's a downed opponent. Piotr Jan decides to knee him in the head. An obviously illegal knee that ends up getting him DQ'd, and the belt moves over to Aljo. Now, there's discussion on whether a belt should move on DQ. That's a discussion for another day because you could talk about that for lengths. But Aljo is now the champion. he actually left the belt in the octagon. He has it now, but he left it in the octagon as a symbolism of, listen, I didn't deserve this, really. I don't want to win it this way. I see a rematch coming, as it should, no matter what, because honestly, like I said, Piotr Jan was going to win that fight unless something happened. I don't know if you want to expand on this.
I want to talk about the DQ thing because we're a generation that grew up in WWF and WWE. And I feel like that's where we get the stupid concept that, oh, you can't lose a belt via DQ. No, you sure as hell can. Because in actual fighting, in actual sports, the disqualification standards are set to keep the other person safe.
Yes.
You're doing something unsafe. That's why there's no eye gouging, no, intentional punches to the back of the head where they are not able to defend themselves. No kneeing on the ground. Certain rules you're not allowed to do in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
So something like a DQ, like a knee to the head, when you get to the level of UFC, Bellator, ONE, all of these fighting leagues, you're a pro, you are experienced, you know what to do and what not to do. You know what's safe and what isn't safe. Essentially, you know what you wouldn't want to have done to yourself, what would piss you off, and what you would want the other guy or girl DQ'd for.
Yes.
So can a belt change over in DQ? Hell yeah, it can and it should, because you did not follow all the rules. You've known the rules. If it's a championship fight, you both have fought in multiple fights. You all know the rules. So that's not a debate. And if you are debating it, then you are a fan of that person that lost it, or you just think that we go by WWE rules, and that's not the case. Go ahead.
All righty then. We're going to move on to Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson.
She's such a monster.
It was just the annual feeding of Amanda Nunes.
The lioness.
That's really what it was. Amanda Nunes, first round, basically TKO'd and then submitted Megan Anderson. It was a submission from a triangle. And it was just gross to watch. I mean, it's Amanda Nunes. So what do you expect? She was like minus 1,100 when I looked the day before. And that's accurate. So she did what she did. She defended her belt again. And there's not much to say about that, honestly.
So hold on. I'm not a big fan of the big international days. I don't think everything's an international day, but it was just International Women's Day. And this is Women's Month. And again, I'm not a big fan of all these things. I believe history is history. It should be put in this, everything should be put properly. We shouldn't have dedicated crap to this. But in that reference, Amanda Nunes just had a kid.
Yeah.
She just had a kid and she came back and destroyed a human being.
I don't know if she had the kid or if I don't know if she's married or not, but I'm going to say partner, or her partner had the kid.
I thought she might have had the kid. Did she?
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Okay. Regardless, I will say if her partner.
Regardless, she has a baby.
Yeah. If her partner had the kid, you still ain't sleeping. So,
yeah, exactly.
And training's out of the question, which she found ways to do. She is just an absolute freak. And I, continue to say that Nunes is in the argument for the greatest of all time. I understand the competition, but she just dismantles people and she doesn't show signs of slowing down.
Listen, I get it. She's absolutely disgusting in the octagon. But like I said, there's not much to say. This is Amanda Nunes. There really isn't much to say on that fight. It's just Amanda Nunes fed on another opponent.
Who's next for her to just end a career?
I have no idea. Probably Valentina Shevchenko. That's the only person that she could fight, really, that would actually be a good fight against her, because Shevchenko's a monster as well.
Maybe.
But that would be it.
Nunes, that is it. And I think it's going to happen. It has to happen at this point.
But we're going to move on to the main event, Yamakovich versus Israel Dasanya. As everyone knows, we're both Adesanya fans. Yes. But obviously, you didn't watch the fight. I did. Adesanya maybe got the first 2 rounds, or maybe got 2 rounds out of that whole fight. Either way, he lost the fight. Yamakovich fought very well in the stand-up, and he took him down multiple times. Well, took him down in round 4, then round 5, and kept him down. Once he took him down, he made him just look very weak on the ground.
Yep.
So, obvious win for Yamakovich. One of the weird things that happened, though, is that they scored, I think, round 5, a 10-8 round. And if you watch that fight, there was no 10-8 rounds, even round 5. There wasn't a 10-8 round. I don't get where they got that from. I thought 49-46 was a perfectly fine score. 49-45 didn't make much sense to me. But either way, Adesanya lost the fight, obviously. He is not double champ. He's going back to middleweights. Jan Blachowicz is now 9-1 since, I don't know if you've heard the story. but he has been 9-1 since he found someone who had brought harm upon themselves, and he was able to. The policeman had him keep a part of what they used as a bracelet in order
Wow.
to forever remember that. He is now
Wow.
9-1 since that. It was the most powerful moment in Yamakovich's life. I'm guaranteed that. So yeah, the man's a monster. He's going to fight Glover Teixeira next, as Glover deserves a fight. Honestly, he deserved the title fight before Adesanya, but that was going to get Dana the big bucks, so I understand it. And now I have no idea who Adesanya is going to fight. I'm assuming it would be the winner of Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa, because I mean, I think that's going to be Whittaker, and Whittaker deserves a rematch. Cannonier was beaten by Whittaker already. Darren Till not up there yet for a title fight for me, and Costa just lost to him. So we'll see what happens in the middleweight division. Light heavyweight, we know that fight. But other words, UFC 259 was a pretty good card, not a groundbreaking card, but a pretty good one.
So ESPN did their own MMA rankings that I sent to you, and it was pretty I like them. I thought they were actually pretty good. I want to talk about light heavyweight, because in this ranking they still have John Jones as number one fighter, and this is post 259.
That is the interesting one. I don't
That's
agree.
Disrespectful to me.
I don't agree with that, because John Jones is actively moving up to heavyweight. He's like actually up there. He put up videos of him. He's huge now. So he's actively moving up to heavyweight. There's no reason to have him in there. I get it. I think John Jones might still be the best 205.
Okay, but even if
he's out of the division,
he's not the champion. And Yamakovich just beat a very game Israel Adesanya, because even though it was a big box, Adesanya did have a chance of winning this fight. It's not like he was way out of his league. He's an extremely talented fighter, and even going above your weight class. And I also want to talk about that. You talked about who's on the horizon to Israel Adesanya. Is he better off just fighting up and trying to win in that division? Because there is nobody in who,
he's going to defend middleweight a couple more times, I think, like 2 or 3 more times, if he wins those fights. But I think he's going to do that a bunch more times, then go back up to light heavyweight, because I just don't feel like he had the right mindset coming into light heavyweight in order to be able to defend those takedowns and everything. And it's obviously he was very wary of Blachowicz' power, because even though he's able to slip some shots, still you don't want to get caught by him.
Kind of a lesson learned for him.
Exactly. But anyway, like I agree with you. John Jones should not be a number one because he's a heavyweight now. I get it. He may be the best 205er if he was down to 205, but he's not down to 205. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't have him there. And Blachowicz does deserve to be number one.
So let's jump up to the heavyweight, because they have obviously Stipe Miocic is the number one. That's clear.
Yes.
Nagano's number two, and I think that's clear. We're going to see those two face off, and that's going to be amazing on the 27th. Derek Lewis in this jumped up to 3, and Gane is number 4. Do you want to see a fight between Lewis and Gane to decide who fights the winner of Nagano and Miocic, or has Lewis done enough with his win against Curtis Blades on the 20th to be the next man up?
The problem with this is John Jones. John Jones throws the biggest ratchet into every heavyweight plan, because now the question becomes not who is next in line for the championship. It's who's the next in line to fight John Jones, and then who's the next in line for the championship. Because it's either this fight's going to happen with Miocic and Nagano. There's going to be one more fight for a championship without John Jones, and then it's John Jones, or they're going to wait, see if John Jones wins his first fight, and then go straight to a chip. Or, I mean, he could just put Jones right into the championship fight. Dana White does whatever he wants. But just the heavyweight division is a very big flux right now, but it's a very fun division right now. Even though the Gane-Rosenstrike fight was extraordinarily boring, because Rosenstrike did not want to try to get anywhere near Gane.
Don't blame him.
Yeah, but you got to have some action in order to win. But I mean, Stipe, incredible champion. Nagano, a one-hit KO power. Derek Lewis, honestly, even stronger one-hit KO power. I mean, that may sound crazy, but the man has the most knockouts in UFC history for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Gane, it's very good up-and-comer. Curtis Blades, extremely good fighter. He just got caught by Lewis. Volkov looked
Yeah.
well.
I was gonna ask, where does Volkov fit into this? Because right now in the rankings, he's sitting at 6, but I feel like he might be a good guy for Jones to. If Jones can test his merit, it could be against a Volkov. Because
Yeah,
if he could
I wouldn't
beat a
mind that fight.
Volkov, he could definitely throw his name in the hat. And if Volkov wins, that launches him probably into the top 3.
Yes. Yeah, I would like that fight, honestly, because I think that works pretty well.
For both.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Volkov fought, if I remember correctly, Walt Harris before fighting Alistair Overeem.
Yep.
Walt Harris is a pretty good fighter. I like Walt Harris a bunch, but he was on kind of a downswing. He had just lost to Overeem.
Mhm.
And now Alistair versus Volkov. I don't know what happened to Alistair, but he looked extremely slow. Maybe that's age and everything else catching up to him, or maybe Volkov's just that good. I don't know. But I like the way Volkov's looked. He's looked extremely sharp in stand up. And I think I like that. A John Jones versus Volkov would be good to me, but you never know what the
Now,
UFC.
is it mean to put John Jones against Volkov because Volkov is an absolute Amazon of a human? He's a
No,
tower.
no,
And he's
honestly.
so good on his feet. I feel like as a matchup problem, he might be one of the biggest matchup problems for Jones because he's a rare guy that Jones won't have length. And I don't know if he has speed on Volkov. Volkov is extremely nimble for a gigantic human.
Yeah, no, and I get that, but I feel like that is the best fight to really test Jones's merit at heavyweight. Because let's say even if Volkov has some advantage in the stand-up against Jones, because people want to forget how good Jones is in the stand-up and how diverse he is on the stand-up.
Jones is unbelievable in the stand-up.
Exactly, but let's say Volkov has a slight advantage. I want to see Jones wrestle. Jones is extremely good at wrestling and BJJ as well. So just him being able to take it to the ground at all in heavyweight would be very interesting to see. But the heavyweight division is going to be so much fun for a while, honestly.
So I have a few more. Do you see Usman fighting Covington? Because in here, those are the 2 top guys in welterweight. And then, interestingly enough, Douglas Lima, the Bellator champion, was ranked 3rd, which would be fun to see him try and transfer over and see if that rankings sits. But do you think Covington has a chance against Usman? Usman is up to the caliber of all
Yes.
the other amazing
Yes,
guys.
Covington has a chance against Usman. Covington fought a very good fight against Usman. Usman said Covington brought the most out of him in any fight he's ever had. So I think that would be an awesome rematch. I don't know what's going on there because apparently, I don't know, the Jorge Masvidal thing going on. And honestly, I'd love to see Stephen Thompson fight again because Stephen Thompson's great. And there's yet again, welterweight, pretty damn good division coming in, going on. Because, I mean, right now, next week, we have Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad, which would be a good fight. There's so much that can happen in welterweight, but I think that Colby Covington, Usman versus Covington 2 would be a great rematch to have because I think Covington is the best person fit to beat Usman right now.
So last one before we move on away from this topic, because I think, but UFC is a good topic to always talk about.
Yeah.
So in this, like I said, when we talked about this, I normally don't like to put on these lists, but I really think ESPN did actually a pretty good job of even including some non-UFC guys in this. And this is the one
I do like that.
Over in the men's flyweight, you have Davison Figueiredo, who's an absolute unbelievable beast. Their second-ranked guy is 1 championships champion. Demetrius Johnson.
You see who that is. There's a reason why he's number 2.
So, and Brandon Moreno is 3rd. So, and they're going to fight. So, is there a way Dana works out to tell Johnson, you come over, you're next to fight for the championship?
DJ's never coming back.
You don't think so?
No,
That's
DJ's
so
never. He basically got traded for Ben Askren. Let's not forget that. But that's the sad part.
He's fighting so well.
That's the sad part because Demetrius Johnson is actually one of the best MMA fighters we have ever seen. He's just a flyweight, so not many people understand that.
So good.
But I love Figueiredo. The rematch against Brandon Moreno is going to be incredible.
Yes, it will be.
I think it's going to be incredible. Oscar Oskarov looks really good. After that, flyweight, it's still good. Alex Perez is good. Pantoja is not bad. Royval's not bad. Kai Kara Francis had a really good comeback knockout win in UFC 259 as well. Benavidez, I think, is too old now. I think he's done.
Issue is, I don't think any of those guys, and even Askarov, I think is outclassed by the top 3. Askarov's very good, but I still think the top 3 there kind of take the top off the division on their own.
For the most, I think Askarov can hold. I think Askarov will go to decision no matter what. I think he definitely can
He's
hold
tough as
his own.
nails. So
Exactly, Askarov is very, very good. I think that top four in general in ESPN MMA. It's not just UFC. Let's keep reminding people that
it's MMA in general,
Yeah.
mostly UFC because UFC is the premier promotion.
Mhm.
But they do throw in Bellator one. They have a good range,
Mhm.
and which is good respect for those other promotions that they do have.
Exactly.
Yoel Romero's in there, Corey Anderson, former UFC guys,
Yeah,
but they're still good enough to fight.
Yeah, and then the Bellator guys deserve to be in there. There's some of them that are really, really good.
Yep.
But overall, the flyweight division can be fun. Obviously, I would love to see DJ back. Mighty Mouse is incredible.
Yes, he is.
But I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
All right. So lastly, I don't want to leave out the women. We talked about Nunes. We talked about the only other person really is Valentina that can fight against her. And there's really not much more to be said. Zhang Weili is unbelievable. And she's kind of unopposed over in the strawweight as well. So, I can't see she's fighting Rose
Namajunas, yeah. And Rose is
name.
very, very good.
Rose is, and that could be a sneaky one, and that's going to be a very good fight to watch because they're two scrappy women with surprising knockout power for their size. So it's going to be interesting. And Joanna, I cannot say Joanna's last name, but Joanna's still lurking because she lost by split decision. So she's probably going to have claim to the winner of that fight to come up.
So that top three in the strawweight, Weili, Namajunas, and Yurchek is very, very good. Very, very good because Namajunas beat Yurchek before for the time. So there's been a lot in that division that's incredible.
Yep. So top to bottom, MMA, UFC specifically is stacked and loaded, and it's as good as it's ever been. So I'm excited for 260. We have some good fights. We talked about a few of them mentioned in there. So we're going to move on to some basketball because you want to talk about heavyweights. The Brooklyn Nets just got maybe a lot better, definitely better.
I think a little better. I don't want to say a lot until I see more.
Agreed. They signed Blake Griffin. He was bought out by the Pistons, and 2 days later, the Nets got him. I think it's a really good move for the Nets. There's been a lot of hate on it. There's been, Durant needs super teams to win this and that. Durant can't control who Sean Marks signs. And I don't know, Dave, how do you think number one, is Griffin going to stay healthy? And number two, Griffin has never not started a game in his career. Is that get broken for the Brooklyn Nets?
Yes, most likely. It sounded like he was saying he's going to be a backup 4 or something like that.
You wouldn't slide Joe Harris to the bench? Or is Joe Harris a bona fide?
No, Joe Harris is a starter. Joe Harris is a starter.
Okay.
100%. Blake should be fine sitting on the bench for a bit, at least, unless he looks good as a starter.
Yep.
I mean, he hasn't dunked in like over a year, I think, which is incredible for Blake Griffin. Obviously, he's brought a lot of different tools to his game to stay kind of relevant, which I'm very proud of Blake Griffin for, because honestly, you don't expect that for some people. But I think he'll be fine as a bench player for right now. And I think we can run a lot of really interesting sets with him, depending on who we have on the floor, especially if you put him out there with Nick Claxton. I think that would be really interesting. I honestly, I don't want him out there with DJ, even though they're old-time allies, mainly because they're both older now. I don't know how athletic Blake's going to be. Maybe as a resurgence, maybe he wore ankle weights over on the Pistons, like Harden wore fat suit in Houston. But DJ has looked much slower than he has been, and he's not always. You see energy in DJ on every so often on some plays. There are some games where he has like 4 blocks and he looks good, but there's some games where he's not entirely there. So I wouldn't want them in a set, but I would be very interested to see Blake Griffin and Nick Claxton as our front court.
And he kind of wouldn't fit because Kevin Durant's the 4 on the starting unit, obviously. And Jeff Green has been the guy that they paired up with DJ because, like you said, the athleticism, a little bit slower. They just kind of give DJ more of the defensive setup guy and the screen and dunk guy. Role. What does this do to Nick Claxton? We saw him before the All-Star break have breakouts and looking to usurp DJ for minutes and possibly a starting position. Griffin kind of plays his position. Nick Claxton's morphed into a 5'4", even though he came in as a 4. He now plays both. He put on a good amount of weight. He's not afraid to rebound. He's getting offensive boards left and right.
Yep.
A much better scorer than Jordan and even Jared Allen when Jared Allen was with the Nets. Probably our most talented big man as a scorer, even more than Jeff Green. Blake might put a numb in that because Blake is a scorer. So what does this do for Nick Claxton? Is it going to stun his development, or is everyone else going to be put aside for Nick to start to blossom?
No, I think it actually might help his development because he has so many things to learn from so many good people around him. I mean, you have DeAndre Jordan. Now you have Blake Griffin. You have Jeff Green, even though he's smaller. He's playing small ball 5 and he's playing it well.
What about Bruce Brown? What is he learning from 6'4" center?
I mean, he's the best 6'4" center I've ever seen in my life. But you also have Amari Stoudemire as the coach helping him out. I think Nick Claxton only learns from this. And I think we're actually going to see him out there even more, especially if he's looking good. I don't think Steve Nash is going to walk away from Nick Claxton in any sense, even with the Blake Griffin signing. I think we just see him in more interesting sets because he can guard on the perimeter. He can do everything out there. He's a modern 5. He is a modern 5'4", whatever you want to play him as. He can actually stretch out and hit threes. So Nick Claxton is our future big man. We know that.
You know, with the way James Harden has been orchestrating the offense, it makes my expectations pretty high for Griffin because he's been able to make everybody play better, including Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, which is it possible that those guys can actually get better? Apparently, because Harden's been doing that type of thing. And I'm telling you right now, I said it to you, Blake Griffin's going to dunk this year because Harden's going to throw him alley-oops regardless. And DeAndre Jordan will not let him live it down if he doesn't. He will make fun of him publicly on TV if he does not dunk.
They just need
to
make
fun of Kyrie when he does dunk.
Yeah.
So
they need to bring Mozgov back so Blake Griffin has the fire in him to dunk on him.
Oh my God. But you know, overall, I have high expectations for Griffin. And the way you're looking at this team right now, they have completely designed this team to slow down Anthony Davis. Not to stop him, because nobody stops Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
But you have now 4 guys that can bug him. At least try to deter him because then they're going to be more energy. Jeff Green is scrappy against bigs, even though he's undersized. Kevin Durant is an elite defender and will be able to guard on the perimeter and make Anthony Davis have to go in to help. Nick Claxton is a game defender outside, even though he's young and Anthony Davis will eat his lunch a good amount. He's still a body. And now you add Blake Griffin, who's athletic and can step out and defend. That's now 4 bodies that are going to be annoying the hell out of Anthony Davis. And that's a huge factor because anyone that watched the championship last year, yes, it's LeBron, but it was AD more than anything that put them over the top. And if the Nets can stop him from averaging 30 and 15, they have a very good chance of winning a championship. If they get there, not going ahead of the game. But even if you look at it in the East, there's now 4 guys.
Joel Embiid is the scariest thing in the NBA right now.
There's 4 guys to bug Giannis. There's 5 guys to bug Embiid, including DeAndre Jordan and Bruce Brown, maybe 6, because you know he's the best big man defender of all time. But jokes aside, they have now geared it up for not necessarily to be big scorers. Besides Nick and maybe Blake, they've done it so now there's not. No one guy or 2 guys is going to be forced to guard these guys all the time. They're going to be able to switch up, and it's not so much on DeAndre Jordan having to step out and constantly guard these other bigs. I like what Sean Marks has done here. And again, maybe it's because we've had a good season. My expectations are high because of James Harden for Blake Griffin.
Yeah. Nah, I just don't see it as any kind of deficit. Picking up Blake Griffin, like
if he gets
he's
hurt,
going to bring something. Oh well, yeah, but he's going to bring something unless he gets hurt.
Yeah. All right, so I want to move on because our last topic is going to take up another hour. We're going to have a whole other podcast on our last topic, basically.
Yeah.
So what's quick? We talk about All-Star Weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it because I was still dying Sunday.
I watched it. I watched most of it. I watched from the start of the All-Star game. So
you were obviously fairly interested.
I just had it on, but it was pretty good.
Are you cool with it all being in one day instead of it stretched out?
I don't mind it. I thought it still ran pretty smoothly. I mean, they just did skills competition. Domantas Sabonis won that. Then they went 3-point contest. Steph Curry won it on the last shot because he's Steph Curry. Mean. Yeah, but he didn't have Joe Harris there, so I'm not counting.
No. Joe Harris said he wouldn't have participated anyway.
Yeah, nah, but Steph is gross.
Disgusting.
He's the best shooter in history.
And
I
there was no
will.
Clay Thompson either. So there's an asterisk. No Joe Harris or Clay Thompson.
Okay, yeah,
Asterisk.
yeah, okay. But yeah, Steph is silly. Then the All Star game happened, and Team LeBron was just mean. They were just really mean. Giannis ended up not missing a shot at all.
Yep.
And he hit multiple threes, which made no
Unbelievable.
sense. It just were falling because it's the All Star game. Steph and Dame both hit half court shots. It was just ridiculous. Like, you knew Team LeBron was going to win this game all out. It won 170, 150. The dunk contest was not good, but I mean, it's a dunk contest in a pandemic, and they did the best they could. So I'll give them that. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoy watching basketball, and I enjoy watching nonsensical fun stuff from basketball because it's almost like a Globetrotters game where they're just doing as much crazy things as they can with a basketball, but seeing it happen by NBA professionals is wild.
Would Kevin Durant have made a difference?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, he's Kevin Durant. You can't even ask that question in general. Kevin Durant just makes a difference.
Yep.
But I don't know if it would make that much of a difference, because unless people are stepping out to the half court logo to stop Steph and Dame from shooting those shots, then it's not going to matter.
So it wasn't one of those, because one of the things that I always liked about the All-Star game is I feel like they intentionally have fun and keep it close until the last 5 minutes, and then they play basketball. That's always been the fun part about the most recent All-Star games, is that it's a fun thing. It's alley-oops, it's long threes, it's a good time. And the last 5 minutes come in, the coaches put the starters back in and play ball, and they really go at it. We didn't have a chance to get that this year, did we, because of a lopsided score?
Yeah, it really didn't become much of that. I mean, they were already so far ahead that getting to 170 for them was so easy.
What was the goal of 170? Was that?
I'm not sure how they do it, but I think I don't know if they set it at 170 beforehand, or if they say, okay, we're at this point right now. We'll just bring it up to here so it's long enough. Okay. So it's not long enough, but not too long. I think they kind of tell it by ear. But overall, Team LeBron was just so far ahead that their Team Durant cared, because you want to win money for the charity that's behind your team. Yep. But they really didn't have much of a chance. They still lost by 20.
That's a lot of points. But yeah, overall, I don't mind the one-day thing, because I feel like the skills competition kind of goes by the wayside.
I think it's fine. So
putting them in is kind of cool, and I feel like it's become one of the funner things to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, the two-day
doesn't get as much eyes.
The two-day thing is because you have the Rising Stars Challenge, and you have the celeb game and stuff happen too. So that's the reason why you have a two-day thing, because you have more events. But this one-day thing was fine. You didn't need all of that, even though, I mean, you like to see the younger guys acknowledged, but it's whatever.
I'm sorry, I never watched those two.
I don't blame you.
I don't watch Rising Stars or Celeb. I don't want to see Bow Wow and Bieber torch everybody again, unless Snoop Dogg or who's the rapper that's really good?
J. Cole. J. Cole's good. J. Cole's good.
J. Cole. There's J. Cole and another guy that always
Quavo's good.
Who?
Quavo.
That's it.
Quavo's
those
good.
two, when they're playing, they play with the professionals in gyms and they run with them. So when they play, it's kind of stupid, because it's just like watching two guys that probably could have been pro if they didn't rap. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, I like the whole one-day thing. I think they need to stick with it forever and just give the Rising Star kids the accolades, but don't tell them to play.
I think it's fun to have them in the game. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on to accolades. Ooh, excuse me. An achievement here. Dak held out and won. He won. I honestly was hoping, because of the injury. That was awful for him. But he won. 4 years, $160 million. He gets $75 million the first year, and he has $126 million guaranteed in his contract to stay with the Cowboys. I personally am fine with it. Yeah, we've said this before on his podcast, probably a year ago now, that I don't think Dak himself as a quarterback is necessarily worth all that money. But with the market the way it is, the fact that you have a franchise QB, you can win a Super Bowl with Dak. You have your franchise QB, you have to lock him down.
Yep.
And I mean, eventually they ended up giving in to basically what he wanted. I didn't think he was going to get what he wanted. I thought it was going to be a little lower. But hey, Dak got it. And honestly, I'm happy for him.
So not because of the dollar amount, but because I've been on one ankle since middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And this man is on one ankle for a year and he gets paid. Where the hell's mine?
You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it.
Number two, I thought this was a great deal for both sides. 4 years is not a long deal. That's not a long-term deal.
Mm-mm.
It gives Dak enough time to get another deal. Another pretty damn good deal if he shows out in 4 years, whether it's the Cowboys or not. And it won't be the Cowboys if he doesn't get a championship. If he does, it might be. People are going nuts. He doesn't deserve to be second highest paid behind Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry. Why not? Statistically, he's been on par with every top quarterback in the NFL over the last few years. The Cowboys have been a very good offense with him being there. A lot of the reasons why they lost was because the defense was god awful the last decade, and the coaching has been subpar. Jason Garrett was Jeff Fisher 2.0. 8-8 is love for him. But Dak Prescott, is he, top 5 quarterback in the NFL in terms of talent and everything? The guy's never been considered that great. Even coming out of college, he was doubted. People didn't think he was ever going to start. And then he took over and he's never let it go. If you look at it, 4 years, 160, front loaded the way they have it.
Yeah.
Gives them a nice out in the end. It's not a cap hit in the end if they want to get out of the rest of the 126. It's 50 million on the back end, not even less than about 50. Yeah. What is it? Yeah, it's about 50 million.
75 mil in the first.
Yeah. So he gets paid in the beginning. He gets what he wants. And if they're not great, final year, they could probably cut him and take less of a hit.
Yeah.
But it's a good deal all the way around. The Cowboys, kudos to Jerry and Stephen Jones the whole time. Oh boy. The whole time they have been saying he is a cornerstone. We will work this out with Dak Prescott. We will not franchise Dak. He is our guy, period. And they were men of their words. They did it. Does Dak deserve it? Hell yeah, he deserves it. He's played in arguably one of the hardest places to play for his whole career, overcame odds. And let's be honest, they probably should have gone a lot further a few times if Jason Garrett didn't suck. He was a bad play caller. I don't mind the guy. He looked like a decent enough guy, but his play calls blew your damn mind sometimes. So I don't, is Dak worth $4,160,000? Yeah, he is, because the Cowboys paid him it, period. You are what your record says he is. You are what you get paid. And Dak Prescott, like it or not, is going to make the Cowboys relevant again if he's healthy. And they're going to be a good football team. So eat that. Dak Prescott got the money.
You mentioned the franchise tag, so we're going to go over some of the other things that happened in the offseason so far. I don't even know why I'm saying that. Before the offseason even starts. I'm sorry.
It's technically the offseason. The offseason the whole damn time. I hate that they're like, oh, now it's the offseason.
Yeah, no,
are they playing football?
Because it's
the offseason.
Well, I'm not even But so far, people getting franchise tagged. Marcus May of the New York Jets, franchise tag. Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay, franchise tag. Cam Robinson from Jacksonville. Allen Robinson from Chicago. Apparently, he's not happy about it either.
Nope.
No, I wouldn't be either. If I was flirting with other teams the whole time, I wouldn't be happy about that. And Leonard Williams from the Giants. There may be more. I cannot remember.
I think there's a few more, but those were the bigger names that I saw too.
Yes. So all of them franchise tagged. I know there's a couple linemen on teams franchise tagged as well, but I can't remember their names right now. All of them franchise tagged. They're most likely going to be with their teams unless they hold out. So you never know. But players that are not franchise tagged this year, they're going to hit the free agency. Kenny Golladay from Detroit, Hunter Henry from Chargers, Joe Thuney from New England, Bud Dupree from Pittsburgh. All of them not franchise tagged, which very, very interesting developments here, especially with Kenny Golladay. All of them we kind of knew. Some of them, most of them we kind of knew.
Hunter Henry was a surprise.
Hunter Henry's kind of surprising, but Kenny Golladay, we thought for certain was going to still be on the Lions because he is. Hasn't been on the field the whole time, but when he's on the field, he is very, very good. But we'll see. Obviously, now our Jets have a lot of options here. We could do a lot of damn things, and we could improve this team drastically, honestly,
100%.
just through the free agency. Also, Kyle Long, an offensive lineman, Kyle Long, is unretiring. What a surprise. Manish Mehta said we were in talks with him last year to unretire. Now, apparently, Manish is now validated.
We still need him to stay away from the franchise
forever.
Oh,
100%.
But unfortunately, I'm not interested in Kyle Long for the Jets.
I am not either.
Because he's unretired, and he was retired for a reason. He's a fantastic guy, potential Hall of Famer, but I'm not interested. What's interesting to me is, number one, Marcus May, you tagged him. Great. If he has a season like he had last year, pay the man.
Yeah, no, he deserves to be paid. He deserves to be paid. Yes.
But if he's a good soldier, does his job, I don't think he's going to hold out. But if he comes out and he balls out again and he makes the transition from Jamal Adams seamless while still being a better cover guy, you better pay the man. Some interesting ones. Chris Godwin was interesting. I didn't think Tampa Bay was going to franchise him, but they did, and it's a smart move. They need to keep that core together. Cam Robinson was a good one because you need to protect James Robinson running the football and whoever the hell is going to be quarterback back there. You said A-Rob is pissed. I think a sign and trade is going to happen there. I think the franchise is just to give them more time. I think you're going to get a sign and trade.
Maybe because
I think that's going to happen. Leonard Williams, I don't know why the Giants did that. He had a good year, but we're Jets fans. We know what Leonard Williams does. So hopefully he doesn't pull it down there and just kind of take the year off.
Yeah.
It's funny because the guys that were unfranchised this year, out of them, 4 of the guys are going to be on the 3 of the guys are going to be on the Jets radar. Joe Thuney was already mentioned 1,000 times with the Jets. They it was predicted he was not going to get the tag.
Yep.
And the Jets have been obviously flirting with getting him. Bud Dupree, our buddy Colton Gesser, Personal Foul Podcast, and also Play Action Podcast with Will Gethard, both Opinion Podcast Network. They have both been talking about Bud Dupree is probably not going to be in Pittsburgh. And Colton has said he's going to be a Jet. He's all but said that the Jets are idiots if they don't give Bud Dupree what he wants. And I can
that's basically what he said. Yeah.
Can kind of agree.
Yeah.
But now you add Kenny Golladay. And Kenny Golladay, along with a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster being on the market and Curtis Samuel being on the market, Allen Robinson technically off the market right now, but Golladay makes it interesting. I saw a commentary saying that someone, I forget which Jets writer it was, isn't interested in Kenny Golladay for the main reason that he brings a similar skill set to Mims. And you need a guy that isn't similar to Mims. You need a different type of guy. I don't agree with that because I think Mims is an all-around possession player, and we've seen teams like the Indianapolis Colts have 2 of the greatest possession receivers of all time with Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne at the same exact time, and they were absolutely dominant because being able to run a route and catch everything is of more value to me than being able to take the top off the team. So you can always find the guy that takes the top off of defense. You can't find guys that can run routes and catch everything. And Kenny Golladay is proven to be a bona fide one. Even though he was injured and that's a concern, he's a bona fide one.
Yeah.
But overall, that's my feelings on those guys. Dave, how about you?
Basically the same, honestly. Overall, I just want to say Kenny Golladay, if you get Kenny Golladay on your team, unless he's injured, he's just an improvement to your wide receiving core. No matter who you have on there, he's an improvement. So that's why you go and get Kenny Golladay, unless you don't want to spend that money, because he's going to come with a price.
Yep.
He's a very good wide receiver. He's going to come with a price. So if you don't want to spend that money, then you go and get Curtis Samuel. You go and probably get Juju. You go and get these other wide receivers who are still good.
Yep.
They're just not Kenny Golladay.
Yep. So I think you spend the money on Kenny Golladay, number one. Personally, I would spend it because we have it. So why not spend it for a win? If you're going to draft a young quarterback, if you're going to even keep Darnold, give whoever it is weapons.
I completely understand that. And I, for the most part, agree. But number one, go get Joe Thuney.
Yep.
Number two, if you're not certain on an edge in the draft, you go and get an edge.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah.
Those two happen way before, and maybe even a corner, way before you go and get a wide receiver, because there are still wide receivers in the draft that you may be able to pick up.
So quickly, though, back to Kenny Golladay, though, one of the reasons I like him, he's just a professional.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about Juju, and Juju's star has definitely dwindled a little since all the Instagram stuff started.
Every single player in Detroit is a professional. if you
They
don't
have to
say
be.
anything. You have to
They
be a
have to
professional.
be. But and the thing is, he definitely plays the right way. I'm not saying anything about Curtis Samuel because I
Yeah.
don't honestly know enough about Curtis Samuel. I'm not gonna lie. I know
Mhm.
he's a very talented guy, but I don't know his antics or anything like that. I haven't heard
Mhm.
anything about him. But I do know Kenny Galladay is just a pro.
Mhm.
He goes, runs a route, makes a catch, maybe does a first down sign, puts the ball down and walks away. You never catch him with the taunting. You don't catch him with excessive stuff. You're not questioning any locker room stuff about him. He's just a very talented player that does his job.
Mhm.
And I like those types of guys. Now, I'm going to bring up something off the list real quick. Tom Brady's at it again, Dave.
Oh, wants to get OBJ. I saw that.
Not even that. You want to know how he wants to get OBJ?
I
He's
actually didn't look into
restructuring his deal because Tom Brady gets it. And I hate him. And I hate him.
It's only
The
in it for the rings, man.
best guys, why can't kids learn? You're going to make millions anyway. Again, we don't all have Giselle. 99.635% of us don't deserve Giselle, so that's okay. But Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, uh, in a way, LeBron, because he does short deals. It's not long-term stuff that, capsizes franchises. Tom Brady, learn children, take less, win rings. Endorsements bring you more money than deals. You think Tom Brady cares about his contract? Tom Brady has lifetime deals from like Uggs and I think Bravado. They probably pay him more than any contract that he ever had.
They actually might. I have no idea. They actually might. I listen. I completely get getting the money in your contract. I get it, but I also completely get what you're saying because I mean, if there's one thing that fuels Tom Brady, it's literally just winning. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm certain the money fuels him too, but it's literally winning. The man is the most determined man on the planet.
But then again, the Tom Brady method, and let's think about this too, because again, I hate the man. I hate you, but I respect you. Anyway, God, come to the Jets when you're done because you'll still win a championship at the age of 73. Anyway,
no, that's the time he won't win.
Yeah, the Brett Favre effect. Anyway, but children, listen again. Take less money now, because if you win and you continue to win, you play for a longer time, and you make triple what you would have made in that first contract. Like this guy's never hurting for money, and he's never been the top paid. I think maybe once he was the top paid quarterback in the NFL. I think he beat Peyton once. I think it was so long ago. I think there was only one time in his career. Every other time he has taken less. I think he even took less off that contract. Like he was top paid in the initial, and then towards the middle of it, he's like, I'll get back. We'll restructure because I want to go get this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when are people going to learn, Dave? When are people going to learn?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm really hoping he doesn't get OBJ. I'm really hoping he doesn't.
He'll be the one guy that can tame him and make him into like an.
It's not even.
Like
I don't think it's even about taming OBJ. OBJ hasn't been like going crazy over in the Browns. He really hasn't. He hasn't done anything like he's done in the Giants. He's just been there. He's been hurt, really.
Would you be ready for the OBJ Gronk on the yacht shirtless photos?
Oh no.
Could you imagine OBJ at Gronk Island in those pictures? All right. Actually, second thought, this needs to happen. OBJ needs to go to Tampa Bay. Apparently on a 4-year deal, like Tom Brady already has it mapped out. I hate him. Anyway, so when are we going to learn, Dave, to how to do a podcast under an hour?
We're not. We're simply not. We're very adamant on 6 topics.
It's a good variety. Shut up, okay?
It is.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening to this episode of CuestaDos. He's David. I'm Alex. David, any final words?
No, actually, I don't. Usually I have something. Nothing is coming to mind right now.
My hair still is not caught up to David's. I don't know if it's going to.
It won't.
David has the curls going now. He has kind of it's almost Kratos-esque, the beard, God of War.
Showers. So.
The God of War Kratos-esque style. So that's what he's going with right now. But overall, thanks everyone for listening. Again, we're CuestaDos, Twitter at CuestaDos. Opinions Podcast Network is the network we are involved with. At the Real OPN on Twitter, Opinions Podcast Network on Instagram. For me, I'm Alex Cuesta. Again, he's David Cuesta. Don't care about our Twitters. We kind of suck. Or Instagrams. We really are pretty boring. But overall, give Opinions Podcast Network a look. Go on our YouTube. It has all the shows on there. It has mentioned Personal Foul. We mentioned Play Action, but also if you're a hockey fan, hockey's going on. Butting Heads podcast is fantastic. They have the pulse of hockey. Their opinions don't suck. So you definitely want to go listen to that. And I have to give a shout out there, not on the Opinions Podcast Network yet. I will get them on it. But two of our buddies started a NASCAR show, Tight on Entry. Go listen to Tight on Entry. They're funny. They both love sports and they both love NASCAR. Huge fans, know NASCAR like the back of their hands. So go listen to Tight on Entry. And yes, that is their name. Enjoy it. So anyway, everybody, thank you for listening. Have a good one.